live from Canada. Over to you, Cezar.
Once again, good morning, and thank you so much. I know the time is precious. Just gonna go right in. We'd like to leave sufficient time for questions. I hope you'll have many. Hopefully we'll answer all of them. Just a brief summary of what we're trying to do. I'm sure that all of you know, but just to be on the same frequency from the very beginning. So Bouvet is the most remote, by Wikipedia and other sources, the most remote island on Earth. There's some definition as to why that is, and I'm not going into that. But it's approximately kind of in the middle of the right side of the right side triangle. That kind of is between the Falklands, Cape of Good Hope, the southern tip of the African continent, and Antarctica. And this is a very brief summary, which most of you, I'm sure, know very well by now, was discovered by a French explorer in 1739, almost 300 years ago. And well, it's a long story as to what happened and how Great Britain decided to put a claim on this, and then it was back and forth. But the bottom line is that the island has been since 1929 a dependency of Norway, and it's been a protected natural reserve for more than 40 years. It's 93% covered by a glacier. Lots of storms, very stormy days. We'll probably see some samples of that. And from a geological and tectonic point of view, for those of you who know a little bit more about tectonics, it's a very interesting, just about 200 and some kilometers west. It's a triple junction, which means it's where three tectonic plates join. So it's a place of, or nearby, it's a place of intense earthquakes. It's a place, hotspot. It's a hotspot. It's very close to where the mantle brings material. The convection currents bring material from the mantle of the Earth to surface. It's a volcanic cone. It's the source of powerful earthquakes. The last one that I remember of was a few years ago, about 100 kilometers off the island. It's 11 kilometers deep, and it was close to magnitude 7. So it's pretty powerful stuff. And there are lots of interesting wildlife. The ones that we are a little more fearful are the elephant seals and the Antarctic fur seals, because they are in larger numbers. Elephant seals could be up to 4 tons, as far as I've seen one in life, other than the zoo, I guess. But the Antarctic fur seals are also pretty large. They can go to 500, half a ton, 500 kilograms, and they would be quite territorial. It's probably the breeding season for them in that period of time. But we hope that the spot where we're going is not going to be very close to them. So this is the team, the 12 operators. If I'm not mistaken, they're half from North America, half from Europe. And we have Peter, the driver, the Zodiac driver. He's a professional. He's professionally involved in missions of transport in the Arctic, so we're in good hands. I'm sure that most of you know at least some of these guys. I'm not going in great detail on them, but you could read a little bit about their bios. The GRZ.com is the source of knowing them a little bit better if you haven't known them by now. And the boat, it's a 100-foot yacht. The idea of going with a yacht, it's probably a great idea in these times with all this prices and things like that. Just the cost of fuel for, if I remember correctly, for Great Heart was very close to $100,000. So I don't know what that would be now, maybe 130, 140, 150, who knows. So the general idea is that we hope to be able to make Port Stanley to Bouvet in 12 days. Hopefully 11, but 12 days, that's what we have in mind. If we're not going against a lot of against the nature, and perhaps 12, maybe 11, who knows, perhaps even 10 days, just based on the winds and at the time from Bouvet to Cape Town. Just to see the boat from a different angle, I kind of wanted you to do that. Just gonna go briefly this, and then eventually we'll land on Bouvet. Now the plan is to have 22 days on Bouvet, and if we can land very quickly, that will be a blessing. If we we have to postpone the landing due to the weather conditions, that may be a little bit tricky, but the boat is the plan is for 22 days on Bouvet. At the same time, if conditions are such that we cannot leave Bouvet on time, we'll have provisions, we'll have what it takes to be there for up to 30 days. Okay? So if something happens for one reason or another, we can't evacuate just in the middle of a big storm, maybe we evacuated half the gear or a part of the gear, but not everything, and somehow we have to stay there. We'll have supplies, everything should be fine for up to a month. Okay? So,
just interrupted here. Cezar, can you hear me now? Your screen's not advancing. Can you try advancing your screen? It's not showing up at this end. Can you stop sharing and then restart sharing? See if that's all right. No, you can't see it. I've got the audio just on the headphone at the moment. Yes, that's what we're seeing is what you can see. Just the screen number one. No. Just click on screen number two and see what happens. Okay, well, I'm only seeing number one. Okay, just keep talking now. You can just keep talking. No, but this is okay. This is okay. Just put your audio. Yes, that's on number three. That's all right. I think you could easily pick up from number four, the teens up.
I apologize to everyone. I don't know why this is like that, but why you can't see this, but let's pick it up in this mode. So this is the team, as I mentioned. You have the leaders, Cameron and Erwin, and then the rest of the guys. Some of you may know some of them, some of you may know many of them. Mike, Axel, Bill, Adrian, Yermont, Pete, Aris, myself, and Dave. And our drivers are professional drivers, professionally involved in rescue missions and logistics in the Arctic, who apparently has enough skills and is working towards that even as we speak to operate FT8. So we'll hopefully those who make FT8 users will probably log him as well. And this is the boat. This is the yacht that I mentioned. And as I said, we hope to make the trip from Port Stanley to Bouvet in approximately 12 days. Hopefully 11, but 12 days is what is kind of planned. They're about 4,000 kilometers. We'll see how the weather goes. Then about 11 days, maybe 10 if we're very lucky, to Cape Town. But we'll see that. And I also had have this to show you how the boat looks when it's on the sea, on the ocean. I made the comments about the diesel and Braveheart, so those comments, you heard them, I'm not going to repeat. And then we have land. We'll be there, if everything goes well, for 22 days. We have supplies for up to a month, but we like to evacuate after 22 days, is better than all. So as you can see, we try to avoid all the green parts. Those are very large colonies of penguins and mammals such as the fur seal and the elephant seals, the fur seals, and so on and so forth. The weather station is in the west side of the island, approximately here. But we try to avoid those places as much as possible. It will be very, very difficult to go through them with, 8 tons of equipment and supplies. So this is the landing point if everything goes well, and we'll have to make it. Can you see my cursor on the screen? Not. Can you see my cursor on the screen? Yeah. Okay. So this is where we're supposed to land. In this place, we'll show the beach from a different angle, and we're supposed to climb this cliff. So this is the place where eventually we'll set up camp, and everything will be gone from that. This towards the end of towards the month of September, in the month of September, August, September, there'll be some glacier climbing course for at least a few of the guys who feel more brave and want to take it in Norway. I myself have had some experiences climbing glaciers in Jasper, Canada, but it was not demanding. It was just carrying myself, not any weight. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we're not going to be. It's not going to be necessary to climb along the glacier, and there'll be enough of a pathway to go up there. And if only a few people make it, then it will be easier because we'll have the hoisting system in place, and this is how all the equipment will come out there. Anyway, if we continue, it's a bit of a better picture, better photo as to we're going to land at the base of this glacier, and the idea is to climb nicely like this. This is the best climbing route. Once up there, we'll have some hoisting system, as I said, in place. Okay, now as far as the equipment is concerned, some of you may already know, but we intend to have 12 stations. There'll be some spares, but in essence, we'll have 8 positions for working CW and SSB, and 4 for doing FT8. So this is not an expedition that will emphasize the FT8. On the contrary, it's not that somebody is totally against it, but it's not on purpose. So we'll also have 10 amplifiers, including 2 units of 2 kilowatts, which are intended for all purposes for the 160. So don't think that we'll need that kind of power on the other bands. We'll talk about the antennas in a minute, but there'll be 12 main antennas and a lot of other antennas, spare parts, replacement antennas, and so on and so forth. And we're very lucky that Messi and Paoloni, decided to gracefully support us and sponsor us, and they're providing us with a huge amount of cables, of coax cables, which is not only exceptionally good by performance, but it's half lighter than anything else that we've seen so far. And we'll have 5 diesel generators. You're supposed to have 4 of them working, and the 5th would be in standby in case something happens. The general idea is that we'll have two of the SSB CW stations and 1 FT plate on each of the 4 diesel generators. They're kind of heavy, approximately 80 kilograms with the crates that we're going to transport them in. That was to be seen. And we'll take it up there. We'll make it up there with the hoisting system. So the YK3S, because we don't think there's anything comparable with it at this time on the market for expeditions. It's just as simple as that. The USB interface, rather than serial port, it's a blessing. It's very, very light. It's a very powerful machine, and that's the one that we'll be using. The expert amplifiers are also, in our opinion, the best in the class. As far as the light mix is concerned, it's not the case for the 2 kilowatt, which, as you see, is going to be a monster compared to the other one. But there are a lot of guys interested in 160 around the world, and it's kind of a difficult thing to do. And we want to use the as much juice as possible to make it work. So just a brief little photo about the computers. They're nothing super special about them, other than the fact that they have everything we need, and Lenovo gave us a good price for them. So they're not one of the sponsors, but since we bought a good quantity, we've been able to get a good price for them. Now, I mentioned that I want to talk a little bit about the antennas. This is the main antenna farm. The main antennas will be 4-element, 4 tri-banders and 3 dual banders. So we'll be able to have 3 and 2 stations at the same time operating on each of the bands. So 3 stations will operate 10 and 15 and 20 meters on the one tri-bander, using the 403A triplex system and the biplex system for the 12 and 17. Because of the constructions of the antennas, of the beams, of the masts, we don't want the masts. There are a number of reasons why we don't want that, but the masts won't be cylindrical, so they'll have they'll be squared section. So we have some special brackets for one tri-bander and one dual bander to be able to rotate them. But the other ones will be fixed on different continents. Okay. Apart from this, we'll have a 30 meter and 40 meter vertical with a 30 meter and 40 meter inverted V. Depending on the results, we may switch to these ones. And if we switch to them, we also have a phasing kit, which will allow us to flip between two directions that will boost up the signal a little bit. Allow us to put the signal a little bit. We hope that the 30 meter, 40 meter vertical will be okay, but if we have some perception that that's not, we don't have a good cursor rate, we're going to switch to 30, 40 meter inverted V's. And we have a vertical for 80 meters, actually a couple of them, because we can rebuild and replace the 80 meter vertical completely. Also, we have 3, not 2, but 3 160 top loaded vertical antennas. We can also rebuild, we can also replace them, and we have a variety of masts that will make up for 20 meter to be able to make sure that they'll be on the air. Now, the antenna originally was 22 meters high, but we think that the top sections have to be removed just because they're not going to withstand the conditions there. And there's been a lot of engineering being done to make sure that we have the proper heights and the proper guy wires and the number of guy wires and the proper guy wires to withstand the powerful winds that eventually we'll have in 3 weeks. And what's worth noting is the LZ1AQ reception antenna, which is going to be outside of the actual camp, some 240 meters, if not more, away from the operators, all positions will have the ability to switch to the LZ1AQ antenna. Okay. So as additional antennas, it's important to note that we're not going to start with these. As the unloading will take place, a couple of operators will run up the cliff and will install the tent, the operations tent, and will install a couple of verticals, or a couple of these verticals. Okay, probably 17, maybe 15, maybe 20 meters will be daylight. We'll see at the time, but these will be the antennas that will make it first to the top. We don't intend to install them all. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this very quickly. Not just the installation of this would kind of take a couple of hours, but you know, that's could be wishful thinking. But the unloading, so we hope that the unloading can take place the same day. But if we can't, then we'll unload whatever we can. Then we can unload whenever we can the rest, and you know, all the other antennas will make it to the top as well. And so they come up. Obviously, these ones will be taken down and so on. Now, this is a mock view of how, in theory, a couple of these antennas would look like, just to give a little bit of and to give us a little bit of an excitement that you know, somebody's been already there, but it is not. Now, as far as the logistics is concerned, and I'm personally heavily involved in the logistics and safety, scheduling the transports, and just to, I think that my time already expired, so I apologize. But very quickly, we need to, all the radios and all the electronics, many other components will have to come in waterproof containers, and we'll have to, we'll make sure that not two similar pieces of equipment will come in the same transport, in the same Zodiac. If you ask how many Zodiacs, how many transports will take, right now we estimate 12, maybe 12 to 14, and there'll be another 5, maybe 6 resupply transports. That means out of the original amount of diesel, kerosene, and food, which is supposed to last us for about 10 days, we'll have additional amounts that will be brought in whenever weather will permit. And you see approximately there are 4 tons of equipment and 4 tons of supplies. These are the approximate supplies, but this is all the supplies for after 30 days if we have to be there that long. And I want to take a special moment to thank GDMX. We know that GDMX is a relatively small group among other groups in Europe and the world, but they have you guys have gotten out of your way to make substantial to support this project substantially, and we are absolutely appreciative to your exceptional effort. After this, I'm going to end with this final slide, which will be here for a few seconds, just to thank the corporate sponsors who, did a lot of work with us. It's not just about the products, but how we reach to those particular products, how we ask them, and how we make them to do, in some cases, changes, modifications to the original products, and just to satisfy our needs. And so we're most grateful to them. It might have taken a little longer. Sorry for the original mishap. I don't know if there are any questions. Please feel free. I apologize to the next presenter for maybe taking a little of his time.
How we're going to do this is we'll ask questions and we'll relay them. Yeah, I'm not speaking into it. Sorry. We'll ask questions and then relay them to Cezar. In the detail of the antenna form, there's no antennas shown for 6 metres. I wonder what plans the team might have for 6 metre operation.
So we're asking what plans do you have for a 6 metre operation? I didn't notice anything on 6 metre antennas plugging the
Discussed, and well, the decision is that there will be no 6 metre operation. Sorry.
Cezar, it's Clive, GM3PI. At this, getting up to the top of the sunspot cycle, why on earth are you not taking 6 metres? To repeat the last question.
I guess I don't want to throw this on to other team members. I joined the team on December 15th. Okay, so at that point in time, some of the team members have been maybe not as intensely, but working on this expedition for perhaps as long as a year and a half to 2 years. Okay, and there's been some discussions, as far as I'm concerned, that I was part of, and that was a decision that has to do with, I guess, our ability to. Is that the next question would be, why don't we take EME? Why don't we have a 6 metre EME? And you know, the question, particularly from you, Clive, I know that would be the next one. It would be, it would never end. So I think that the decision has been made that, you know, it's maybe the demand is such that we have to reach a compromise between the demand and the offer, and I guess that's part of. In short, that would be probably the most appropriate answer at this point in time.
Hello, lights across.
Yeah.
Nice, buddy. Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a follow-up. Your main guys on the trip are your leaders, or HF people. That's good. However, with the sunspot cycle being where it is, and you're just interested in QSO totals, I think you're making a grave mistake in just writing off the upper frequencies. And you can, as a sponsor to that expedition, I think you're making a grave mistake in just writing off the possibility of using a simple antenna, you know, 2 or 3 element Yagi up one of your poles or whatever you got there, pointing north, and it'll cover the USA and Europe. Just a grave mistake. All the transceivers, all the amplifiers, all cover 6 meters. That's my only point.
Right, I seem to have run into a technical problem. Yeah, that was one person's view, but it was a mixed view here. There were some people shaking their heads and some people in both directions. Right.
Okay, so am I heard by the audience? Okay, so some of the operators are
Okay, thanks very much. Sorry about the few hitches backwards and forwards, but that was great to have an update on what's happening in Bouvet. We've got a few minutes before the coffee, and Rob's going to take over, and there's a couple of presentations of